want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth, and Shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, especially the 144,000, who consist of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst other nations. Shalom to you. Okay, looking at prophecy today involving Donald Trump. It's been a few days since I managed to upload a video. Had various different issues I had to deal with, unexpected things, and I had no choice, left with no choice but to deal with these particular issues. So it just left me with very little time to actually sit down and sit with the screen itself. So waking up today, no pressure, no nothing else going on. So I've kind of got rid of these issues, so I can. First thing I'm going to do is just put something together, which is what I'm doing now. But over the last few days, there's been, you've seen, like Donald Trump. He's been in the news again, yet again. You've had false prophets. They've been making a name for themselves over the last week or so. Various different things going on, but in particular Donald Trump, and he's been raising these tariffs, or speaking of raising tariffs on various nations around the world, and people are talking about trade war, so on and so forth. Obviously, we're in that time where we're heading towards the fulfillment of Revelation chapter 13, which is the MOTB, which is an acronym. If you want to know what that acronym stands for, you can go to Revelation chapter 13, mainly from the 15th verse down, and you'll understand what the MOTB is. And the fulfillment of that prophecy is coming very soon. We're at the end of this particular empire, this kingdom that we're living in at the minute, which is the reason why you have prophets sent forth from the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, in the name of his son Yahweh Shai, and they come with the warning of future prophecy to tell you that this particular event is about to take place. This happens every time a kingdom falls, and we're witnessing the death of a kingdom right before us, right before our eyes, and the prophets are here to to warn you and to show you as it plays out. So the MOTB is obviously coming up very soon. We understand that. We understand that there's going to be a change with the worldwide economic system. The MOTB also brings in like a digital identification, track and trace, 15-minute cities, so on and so forth. So there's big changes that are going to be happening. And as we keep highlighting, you've got this agenda between 2020 and 2030, a time of reset, which is what the elites around the world are using to bring in this change. And bringing in this change, they're bringing it in for their own particular reasons. And those particular things that happen will actually be the fulfillment of what's happening in Revelation 13:15 on down. So the last few days, we've seen, for example, it says here Trump chickened out. This is MSNBC News. This is from yesterday, the 24th of April. And, there's various different news reports and people are wording it in different ways. We've seen what's happened. Donald Trump has been claiming he's going to raise this and raise that tariff and so on and so forth. This is all part of the plan to make America great again. And in the last day or so, we've seen him now starting to back down from what he said about China, and he's saying now that we're going to have tariffs on China, but we're going to bring them down. And there's obviously people that you've got these people on TV, for example, social media, economists or political analysts, whatever you like to call them, and they'll sit there and they'll go through the various different things that Donald Trump's doing, what's happening, how it's affecting the economy. You've got the other nations of the, leaders of the other nations around the world. There's a lot of them have issue with what's happening in America, and even here in the UK. For example, Keir Starmer, the president, the prime minister of the UK, he's coming under pressure because he's pretty much flip flopping with Donald Trump, which is what Donald Trump's doing. He's flip flopping. He's coming out. He's making bold statements. Then they're having to correct them. And even for example, he's coming out, and him and Elon Musk, they're shutting down these various different government agencies. And then at some point, they've had to reopen one of them because they realized that that agency was dealing with a nuclear program. So it's almost like they don't know what they're doing. You have this sort of Laurel and Hardy effect, and this is what we're witnessing at the minute. And then the latest scenario in this situation is Donald Trump backing down, saying now that we're going to reduce these tariffs put on China. And like I say, you've got these people. They're trying to give you their opinion. Everybody's trying to guess where it's going, but they're not quite giving you the full big picture. You don't always get the full big picture when you watch the media, and they'll give you these various options of where it might go. The people, they watch the media, and they have all these different options in their mind, but being in the Holy Spirit, in the Spirit of Yahweh, by Hashem Hawashai, we're telling you where this is all going. We've warned up until now we're gonna be at this point, and now we're at this point. We're showing you that there's only one option from here on in, which is the fulfillment of Revelation 13:15 on down. So, what I mean, this obviously brings to mind Habakkuk chapter 2. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increase that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay." And so that thick clay, goes back to debt. You've got the word, I think it's a batya.
Strong's H 5671, avtit.
And weight of pledges, heavy debts. So you've got this Edomite empire, this Edomite kingdom. If you like, the centerpiece of it is Babylon the Great. America, obviously, you've got the financial state in the UK, the city of London. You've got the religious state represented by Rome, and you've got the military aspect represented by America, Babylon the Great. And you've got this beast system which is operating, and then you have America, which is the whore spoken of in Revelation 17, the whore that rides that beast. And so obviously all the nations, as it says here, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And so America have all these debt problems, and to enter the scene, Nero 2.0, Donald Trump, even Donald Trump 2.0, because it's the second presidency that he's had, and he's here to fix the nation. He tried to fix it in 2016. He got replaced by Biden. Now he's back, and now he really has to fix it. So you've got this Make America Great situation. He's calling the shots. And people are saying, well, actually, you can't do that because it affects us in this way. And so now he looks like a laughing stock. The other nations around the world are getting confused. Some of them are getting fed up with it. And what this is doing is creating a ripple effect. See, everything is controlled by higher elites, the banking elites. So people like Donald Trump aren't really in control. There's a playbook which has to be played out. The banking elites have the playbook. and they pull in the president. They pull in a man to play the role of the president at certain times to initiate certain stages, and that's all Donald Trump is. So you got the banking elites who want to do what? They want to crash the economy. It's their economy. But why would you want to do it? Because they want to introduce a new economy. And so who would know best how to crash, how to make the economy self implode? Oh, look what happened. There's nothing we can do about it. It just imploded. Well, we'll have to, recreate a new one. Oh, we've got one ready made. It's a CBDC, digital currency, and it involves the MOTB. So they're the ones that are really in control. And so this whole car crash is designed. It's a designed car crash. It's not by accident. You've got those people that will drive around and then they'll hit the brakes, at the lights. They'll hit them really sharp just to make people hit them in the back so they can get out and make a claim or whatever that is. That's the kind of thing that's happening. But people are confused and they see it as some sort of natural event which is spiraling out of control, and what are we going to do to try and fix it? So like I say, you've got people coming out with these opinions. Trump chickened out, this, that and the other. Trump is doing what he's supposed to do perfectly according to what his bosses have told him. When he checks in with his boss at the end of the week, his boxes are getting ticked, so he's happy, and it doesn't really matter what the opinion of the people is. So from there, obviously, as we've been telling you, there's going to be drastic changes that are coming real soon. I explained myself, you've got the reset period from 2020 to 2030, but halfway through that, which is where we are now, and I said from last year, 2024 to 2025, these new presidents and prime ministers come in around the world, and they've all got the same memo. So we're all going to go in the same direction very drastically, very quickly, which is where we're going now. You've seen all the problems created. So it's hard to understand when you see the confusion between these nations and governments around the world. Well, Donald Trump's raising tariffs. Is he creating a trade war? They're falling out with America. So you say, well, how is that them going in the same direction? Because that's the direction the banking elites want it to go in. They create that fuss to create that split, to create that breakup, to bring down the economy. But meanwhile, all the people are down here complaining and talking on TV, giving their opinion. Oh, maybe we could do this to fix it. Maybe we could do that. No, this is a controlled demolition from the top. And so they've introduced these world leaders, and now these world leaders are what Donald Trump is doing is creating an unstable market. How to crash a market is to make it unstable, and as long as you can keep it unstable, you're going to have obviously long-term effects out of that. So that's what's happening since January. He's come in, he's calling all these shots, he's saying all these things, and it's having ripple effects. This is by design for him to come out and make these big bold claims. It affects the stock markets. Next day, they reverse it. They say, oh, actually, we can't do that. We're going to change it. So it affects it again. And this is creating uncertainty. And he's done this right at the beginning of his presidency because he's coming like a house on fire. So now we're not even in May. We're not even in May. So you give it till June, the first 6 months of his presidency, and now everybody around the world is going to say, well, we got this for another 3.5 years with Donald Trump. So you've seen his form, if you like, for the first 6 months, what kind of mood he's in. You've seen how it's affected the markets, and now you're going to have to deal with this for another, 3.5 years. So this is where people start saying, well, we'll do this instead, we'll do that. And this leads more into that uncertainty, more towards that breaking down of the current system, collapsing, and having to introduce a new one. This is controlled demolition by design. But what's happening is people, they get carried away with Donald Trump as if Donald Trump's the one actually in charge. Yeah, he's writing these executive orders, signing them, and saying all these things on the TV. But he's just an actor. and he's given a script, and he's part of that demolition of the financial system. So another thing, you see, where you want to look deeper into Donald Trump and his philosophy, you've got Project 2025. It says here Project 2025 is real and it's happening now. I'll leave the link for this in the description box. And they're pretty much. I'll read it here quickly. It says Project 2025. Maybe you've heard whispers about it. Maybe you've rolled your eyes, but David A. Graham read the whole thing. So it's like a document. It's about 1,000 words. And he says, and he sat down with Katie to break down why this isn't just rhetoric. It's a roadmap already in motion. It says from privatizing weather data to rewinding civil rights gains. So this playbook for Trump 2.0 is more extreme and more possible than you might think. So when you go to watch this, for example, they'll talk about it and they'll explain. Obviously, it gives you a full-on description, but that's not what I wanted to go to. The comment, and even when you go to the comments, you've got people say here, look, chilling to see our country going backwards instead of forwards. This is not an I can't even get the words out. This is not an administration. It is a regime. Call it what it is. Look, wake up America. So this kind of tells you what it's about, and so they're discussing this person here. He's read the whole document, and he says that a lot of people don't read the document purely because of the basis that it's 1,000 words long, and you've got all these big words in there. So these political terms. So a lot of people just kind of read it and it's not really registering it. But he's read it and he's gone through it, and he's basically saying what you're seeing now is the playbook of what's actually written in that Project 2025. So I'll leave the link for this in the description box. That's 45 minutes long. But where else to look? This is Wikipedia, Project 2025. So Project 2025 redirects here to Project 2025, also known as the 2025 Presidential Transition Project, is a political initiative to reshape the federal government of the United States and consolidate executive power in favor of right-wing policies. Okay, so the plan, check this out, the plan was published in April 2023, but did they not vote in Donald Trump in November 2024? So Donald Trump is your president that you voted for in November 2024, but this plan was published a year and a half before that, a year and a half before you had your presidential election. It says by the Heritage Foundation, an American conservative think tank, in anticipation of Donald Trump winning the 2024 presidential election. So obviously, as it says there, they've anticipated, he's going to be up for running for president, and we're going to put together this plan. So it's already put together way before the election takes place. This is the 9th iteration of the Heritage Foundation's Mandate for Leadership series. Project 2025 is based on a controversial interpretation of the unitary executive theory that states that the entire executive branch is under the complete control of the president. The project's proponents say it would dismantle a government bureaucracy they say is unaccountable and mostly liberal. Critics have called it an authoritarian Christian nationalist plan that would steer the US towards autocracy. Some legal experts say it would undermine the rule of law, separation of powers, separation of church and state, and civil liberties. The project calls for merit-based federal civil service workers to be replaced by people loyal to Trump and to take partisan control of key government agencies, including the DOJ, the Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Commerce, Federal Trade Commission, and other agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security. And the Department of Education would be dismantled or abolished. It calls for reducing governmental regulations to favor fossil fuels and, proposes making the National Institutes of Health (NIH) less independent while defunding its stem cell research. The blueprint seeks to reduce taxes on corporations, institute a flat income tax on individuals, cut Medicare and Medicaid, and reverse as many of President Joe Biden's policies as possible. It promises criminalizing pornography, removing legal protections against anti-alphabet, so basically taking away the protections that the alphabet people have, and in diversity, equality, and inclusion, DEI. So they're basically, I'll leave the link for this in the description box as well. They're just come to pretty much dismantle the government. So this is a plan that they had, and this kind of shows you that they were, like I say, they were thinking about this. This was published in 2023. So before 2023, you had this think tank, the Heritage Foundation, and they came up with the idea. If we anticipate Donald Trump winning the presidential election, this is a plan that he could follow. So this is way before the election. Was Trump even involved? The Heritage Foundation, a think tank. So the Heritage Foundation here, or simply Heritage, is an American conservative think tank based in Washington, D.C., founded in 1973. It took a leading role in the conservative movement in the 1980s during the presidency of Ronald Reagan, whose policies were taken from the Heritage Foundation studies, including Mandate for Leadership. Has had significant influence in U.S. public policy making and has historically been ranked among the most influential public policy organizations in the U.S. In 2010, it founded a sister organization, Heritage Action, an influential activist force in conservative and Republican politics. So again, you can go into these in more detail if you want, but this is what this is what I always keep saying to you. Donald Trump is just following a playbook. You think he's there just coming up with these smart, clever answers, this, that, and the other. He's obviously he's got some sort of free will to ad-lib. When he's giving out his speeches, he likes to be eccentric and so on and so forth, or he thinks he is. He's got these eccentric things to say, if you like, but ultimately he's just following the playbook, and this playbook was published in April 2023. It's Project 2025. So you could see straight away the project called for merit-based federal civil service workers to be replaced. These things have all been happening. There's talk of all these different things, and this is the plan that they're looking to bring. And part of that is obviously to destabilize the economy, because whether you go to Trump, whether you go to the think tank who gave him the playbook, but who influences the think tank to produce that playbook? So it all goes back to the banking elites. And so you got Donald Trump doing all these things, talking about tariffs, and then backing down, creating an unstable worldwide economy. And that's exactly the plan, the controlled demolition from the banking elites. So you can read into it, but there's all these different things, like they talk about they describe what it's about, different things, key leaders, for example, the philosophical outlook. The Mandate for Leadership outlines 4 main aims: restoring the family as the centerpiece of American life, dismantling the administrative state, defending the nation's sovereignty and borders, and securing God-given individual rights to live freely. You know what they want to do, for example, like they want to take away the rights to the legal rights for the alphabet people. So you know when you look at it, it's kind of like they're fixing, you know, the things that he's doing, almost like he's kind of trying to clean up America. You've got people like Biden, they've come along, they've given all these rights to them, they're running free, they're going wild. Then you've got these, you know, true Americans, if you like, so they're upset with it. So then he comes in to fix the problem, and this is what we keep saying. But you know, when he fixes it, the ultimate goal through this agenda will be to issue that MOTB. Once the powers that be, the banking elites, through their governments, have you under that control, they can track and trace you, they can turn off your device, they decide whether you're involved in the worldwide economy, whether you can buy or sell. So then your life is pretty much in their hands at the push of a button. You say something wrong, you do something wrong, you go into you wander into the wrong place. You know, they're building these 15-minute cities. So once you're in your 15-minute city, you know, you leave that zone, you won't be able to buy anything. So how long will you last outside of your 15-minute city? So, you know, in China at the minute, for example, you'll see they'll have cities with fences up and gates where they've got a swipe to get in and out if they're valid enough to get through the gate. But, you know, ultimately they won't have to do that, because once you think about how much police they would need all around the world for all the people. It's a lot of policing, but the policing comes through the technology. Once you've got the device under your skin, they can track and trace you. But even if they can't do that, you know, you can't buy or sell unless they allow you access to the purchase. So how long are you going to last without food? You know, anyone going online speaking against the government, they'll shut you down. In terms of all they got to do is stop you being able to eat food. You know, after 2 days, you know, your career online will be over. People will suffer. They'll say, no, I can't take this. They'll have to bow down, and this is that authoritarian rule, which is what see, this Project 2025. I don't know if I've read it just now or I read it already, but it basically comes with a name that doesn't seem, it seems, you know, like it's just Project 2025, but when you actually look underneath it, it's very authoritarian. So what's going to happen is eventually when these things come into place, people are going to feel the squeeze, and like we keep saying, that the pinnacle of it will be to issue that MOTB. They have to bring down the economy first, and that's exactly what they're doing by creating an unstable market. People say, no, why is Trump doing that? Oh, he looks stupid. Oh, he's done that. He's doing what his boss wants, and he's doing it perfectly. And that's why you have an unstable market at the minute, and see where it goes. And the reason why, like I keep saying, the reason why he's doing it so aggressively at the beginning is to create that uncertainty right away. People going, oh shit, we've got a live wire here. But guess what? You still got another 3.5 years to go. So you might want to start making other plans and add to that unstable market. A major concern of the Project 2025 is what is called woke propaganda in public schools. In response, it envisions a significant reduction of federal government role in education and the elevation of school choice and parental rights. To achieve that goal, it proposes closing the Department of Education. You see, so people are saying, when you look at it, oh, Project 2025, it sounds like, oh yeah, he's come to fix, you know, make America great again. It's almost like the new slogan to it. But underneath it, they're going to change everything very drastically. And the bit they're not mentioning is this MOTB. They're not talking about a new economy. They're going to say, well, when we bring down the economy, everything will change, then we'll do this, and then we'll do that. We won't have you come into work so much. We'll have you sitting at home on a credit score system, and we'll have machines doing the job. They're not going to write it like that. And they're not going to write, oh, by the way, this is the MOTB. You can find it in Revelation 13. They've written exactly what it is, but they're writing it in a different way, and they sort of address these particular points. And when you actually put it all together, you do end up, what's missing is just that device under the skin, and you're in that MOTB state. You're in a new kingdom. You're in a new era of the world. You're in a new eon. But the Most High is going to, as soon as they establish it, the Most High is going to bring it down. So, and the new real authoritarian rule will be Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, that will actually take over. The environment and climate mandates climate section was written by several people, including, basically, I'm not going to read it all, but even with the environment, they basically just want to ignore it. That's their thing. Now you can blame it on Trump. You can say, "Oh, Trump's he's against the climate. He don't really care. He's not about saving it." It's not his agenda. It was put together by the think tank, and the think tank were probably influenced by the banking elites. It's just all a hoax. They told you about this climate agenda, to bring you to this point of uncertainty, and you needing the government to say, "Well, fix this planet. You need to fix it. You need to fix it." They create a lot of the bad weather with their weather devices, but now they got Trump coming in saying, "Nah, we don't really care about that. That's not really what we're on." It shows you it's just a hoax. And then once they introduce this new MOTB system, you think they're going to go on about the environment, because they'll have you under lock and key. You'll be stuck within your 15-minute city. Once you get under that control where you can't buy or sell without the device, they switch it off. Everything's gone. You can't speak up. You can't walk out of term. You can't walk anywhere out of where you shouldn't go. You can't speak out of term. When they get that, it don't matter what the politicians tell you, because you're going to have to do what they say anyway. So whether you agree with it or not, and at that point you'll never see them go on about climate again. They'll just go, "You're the people. We got you under control. We rule, and we live it up. And you just do your basic jobs." And that's all it'll be. You own nothing and be happy. This is what it is. It all comes into that. Expansion of presidential powers, federal staffing, healthcare and public health. Like I said, I'm not going to read into all of it. Immigration reforms, that's very obvious to see. We've seen that, in the last few months. They've stepped into that immigration scenario very drastically, trying to send people back home, this, that, and the other. Identity. Then they basically, Project 2025 opposes what is called radical gender ideology, advocates that the government maintain a biblically based social science reinforced definition. So basically, boy, girl, blue, pink, blah, 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 nothing else. And like I say, on the outside, it sounds like you go, yeah, fix it all up. But look at the world around you. They've let, not just with the alphabet people, but with everything, with criminals, with PDF files. You've got these alphabet people. You've got, the world is like a jungle, and I'm not talking about the things in the world, or the plants, the trees, or the cities. I'm talking about the people. Just take the people alone. Is a fucking jungle to go out there and deal with all these people. So many different beliefs and philosophies. People are bugged out. It's all demons. It's just billions of demons on billions of people. Multiple demons on one person at a time. So you're going to go out there, and how you actually could you clean up this mess? Now the Most High showed you the only way to clean up this mess is by bringing a godly event, by bringing destruction, by bringing a so-called UFO invasion, by bringing the return of a Messiah, to for the sky to crack and the clouds to go, the sun and the moon to go dark. It gets gloomy, judgment, death, multiple people on the earth dying, then the earth shaking, getting hit by nuclear ICBMs, then rattling and shaking the earth planet, then all the islands break up and move, and we have a new map. That's what it takes to fix the mess that's out there. The Most High's already showed you that, because he showed you in the scriptures. That's how I'm going to have to clean it up and turn it back around, turn it upside down to turn it back how it should be. So do you think that they're really going to come along with a bunch of government policies and fix it and get rid of all this shit. They're not. People are going to fight. People are going to fight for their rights. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Meanwhile, you've got the economy on its way to crashing. That's why when the economy crashes and you've got mass civil unrest leading up to that point, it goes off the meter, because then people have got nothing to lose. And then you're going to have to say, well, we need something drastic. And that's when the MOTB comes in. That's when your camps come in. If you don't take this device, we ship you up to the camp, the detention camp, or whatever else. So this is when you get into that. This is what the Most High is bringing. This is what it is. You know, Esau's got this plan, but ultimately it's the Most High's plan. It's all part of the judgment. And like I say, the only way to really fix it, in this jungle of people, this jungle of 9 billion people, demons out there, bugged out people, crazy, weird, messed up, wherever you want people. You know, the only really real way to fix it is to A, to destroy America, set it on fire, B, to shake the rest of the earth and give them an Armageddon, a UFO invasion, and a return of a Messiah, and then 144,000 people to whip them into shape. That's what it's going to take to fix this planet. Esau can't do that, but he's going to try. He's made it bad. Now he's going to try. But when he tries, he's bringing in the MOTB. That's his authoritarian rule. Journalism, Project 25 proposes reconsidering the accommodations given to journalists who are members of the White House Press Corps. So this is why you see you had that thing. They said, oh, what was that thing about the WhatsApp message, and the journalist got hold of the message? You think that's a mistake, and everybody's laughing. Oh, this is so funny. No, that's planned. They planned it. Just like Laurel and Hardy write the script. Laurel and Hardy don't turn up and start falling over each other on screen. They plan what they're going to do. If I stand here and you step there and then you fall backwards and you'll fall over me, it's planned. These lot plan it. They sent the man the WhatsApp message. Then it comes out. Then the whole world goes, oh, you're a laughing stock. Somehow your journalist got hold of your WhatsApp message about your defense plans. No, they want to shut it down. They gave you a reason to shut it down. So now it says it here, Project 2025 proposes reconsidering the accommodations given to journalists who are members of the White House Press Corps. They're setting you up. This is all a setup. These people move like gangsters. They're Edomites. They will set you up, have it on a plate, they'll do this, they'll do that, and they'll come in and say, well, we've got to change it now. You've seen what's happened, we've got to change it. Yeah, but it only happened because you made it happen. Oh, but we've got to change it happen now. Everybody's, we're a laughing stock, we've got to change it. So, elections, remember what what's his name? Noval Harari or whatever. That demon. I mean, you've got Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab, he resigned or whatever. He left his post on, what was it? I don't know, Easter Sunday or whatever. Everybody's going, wow, look at that. Look how that happened. He planned that. I told you a year ago. I told you last summer that he was going to leave. They announced last summer that he's leaving. And then I thought he was going to leave straight away. And then it turned out he was going to, stay for a little bit. He was going to do a little, like a notice period. Like 6 months. So it's like he gave 6 months notice. I think it was last, August. He came out and he said he was going to leave. So now he's done his 6 months notice. He's left. And you've got that Harari. You don't know if he'll come into power more. But he's already going on, he's already gone on about how when you vote, the politicians will know what you're thinking, whether whether what they're saying is appealing to you in your mind. How will they know that? Through the technology, through the AI, through the MOTB. So this is the direction they want to go in. And like I say, eventually there won't be none of that, because you'll just be under this rule. You imagine having people under that type of MOTB rule for 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years. In the end of it, you're going to not need no election, because they're going to just do what you're going to say. You're just going to have the kings, who are the banking elites. They have the control system. You've seen it in James Bond. You've got the bad guy, and then he's got his little computer guy on the desk doing the calculations. and that's what it will be. And they just turn off your button, turn it on, turn it or not. These governments and presidents, they're just branch managers. You look after that branch, you look after that branch, and just, so they don't have to do it all themselves. Um, law enforcement, security, national security, yeah, pornography, Project 2025. Kevin Roberts argues that pornography promotes sexual deviance, the sexualization of children, exploitation of women. So again, so you go, yeah, it does. It sounds on the outside, it sounds great. You say, yeah, okay, you know what, you should really actually stop that. It's not a good thing. But then, so this is where it gets. This is how they slide it in on the table. It sounds good, but when they actually, when you, like I keep saying, when you uncover it, this is the plan, the road path to implementing that MOTB. This, alongside a worldwide economic crash, a world war would help a crash, worldwide economic crash. So they might bring that in, and there you have it. You have a reason to start with your new system, but now you've got this new authoritarian rule. Yeah, reproductive rights. I read this last night, so I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that I. Okay, so implementation. Trump actions as president reignited scrutiny of Project 2025, with critics warning that his administration is actively implementing its agenda across multiple sectors. This is what we're saying to you. What you're witnessing is a playbook, and they're playing it out. People are like, oh, what's going to happen next? Oh, look what he did. Oh, he made a fool of himself. He did what his bosses wanted him to do. And they gave him that agenda, and they said, you're going to do this, and then we're going to make the whole world think that, and then we're going to say, oh, actually, we made a mistake. And then you're going to reverse it, and we're going to create an unstable market. If we keep wobbling the market, eventually it will burst. We might have to bring a war in to do it, and a few other things. Once we crash this market, we're coming with this new one. We'll come with it. First of all, we'll give it to them maybe on the app, worldwide digital economy app-based system. And then, when civil unrest really gets out of hand, we'll say now we've got to have a device under the skin because we need to track and trace. That's how you get there. That's how they're going to get you towards it. Along those lines. I mean, obviously there'll be variables that are brought in with it. Environmental regulation, federal workers, executive power, sex and gender. I mean, you can go on. Allegations of authoritarianism. Ruth Ben-Ghiat, a scholar of fascism and authoritarian leaders at New York University, wrote in May 2024 that Project 2025 is a plan for an authoritarian takeover of the United States that goes by a deceptively neutral name. That's it. That's what I was trying to tell you earlier. I knew I'd read it in here. So, Ruth, a scholar of fascism at the New York University, wrote in May 2024 that the Project 2025 is a plan for an authoritarian takeover of the United States that goes by a deceptively neutral name. This is the MOTB. This is them implementing it. Like I keep saying, they're not going to call it the MOTB, the plan to the MOTB, the roadmap to the MOTB. No, they're going to call it Project 2025. And I keep saying, 2024, 2025, they gave you all these world leaders to run this. Now it's time to run this plan. And 2025 to 2030, they're going to run it. But they're not going to wait till 2029 or halfway through 2028 to get going. They get going. They're on it. They've already got going. You see them in January. Since then, this is them. They're getting going. But basically, she said the project's intent to abolish federal departments and agencies is to destroy the legal and governance culture of liberal democracy and create new bureaucratic structures staffed with staffed by new political vetted cadres to support authoritarian rule. She continues. And when Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, when Yahushai comes back and the kingdom of heaven is set up, like I say, first thing you're gonna have the 144,000. You're gonna go out there and put people into order, and then you're gonna, the world's gonna be living according to the laws and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So that's gonna be authoritarian rule. You wanna start getting alphabet. We'll put you to death. You start doing this, that, whatever. You commit adultery, we'll just put you to death. So you give it a couple of weeks of that, and nobody will be committing adultery on the planet. You can guarantee it. So, but yeah, it just goes on. Like I say, you could look this up yourself. Really, all you got to type into Wikipedia is what Project 2025. Let me just flip that to the top. Yeah, Project 2025 into Wikipedia. I'll leave the link for this one. Katie Couric, whatever her name is, she's Project 2025 is real. It's happening now. But there is an end to all this. And people wonder how this thing's going to turn out. How does it end? It's going to end with the return of Yahushai. From here on in, nothing is good anymore. Nothing gets better. Since 2020 to 2025, quality of life, the mindset, peace, calmness within the individual's mind around the world has gone because they've changed the way that the world is with the events that they've brought in. They influence society, especially through the TV, and they create certain mindsets. And so the world is on a downhill spiral, society as a general. And so from here on in, it's just going to get worse. And then you're going to have the MOTB, you're going to have civil unrest, and ultimately you're going to have Armageddon. The world is going to witness many events up and coming, and these things are very soon. Coming up, in the next year or so. We don't know how long exactly, but they're going to come. These things are going to come very fast. Once the economy crashes, everything else starts to move very quickly, because then you can see the stage is set. We're in it at the minute, so don't think it's going to be a while. You're witnessing. They're implementing Project 2025, aka the roadmap to the MOTB, right in front of you. And so everything gets worse from here on in. And then you have the return of Yahushai. Then you have the destruction of America. That's going to be part of what the world witnesses. It's not going to get better. And then you're going to have, like I say, you're going to have the elect of the nation of Israel beamed up to be saved from the destruction. The 144,000, after that they'll get beamed back down. Then you have the 144,000 that will go out on the earth and put everybody under rulership. So it doesn't get better really for any of these nations for a while. And then obviously after that, obviously the scripture's talking about, when the Israelites rule, through the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, obviously the world will be a better place. So people will be happier in terms of the fact that the wicked aren't ruling anymore. But the high point of these other nations is now, especially these Edomites there. But the thing is, it's actually about to get taken away. It's the elites. It's about the banking elites. They rule it. They rule this society, and they're about to change it into this MOTB, this AI technology kingdom, which is, for them, is the pinnacle. They're like, wow, we got all this technology, we're about to become gods. And that's when the Most High snatches it out of their hand. So it will end very soon, but it's not going to go back. Nothing's going to go back. The world's not going to go back to how it was pre-2020, pre-2015. It's not going to go that way at all. So in amongst all that, I don't know why, but for some reason Joel chapter 2 came up in my mind. So you got the terrible visitation. I'm reading this in the BBE. Obviously, normally read the KJV, but I read it in the BBE, and it just It's described nicely. It says, "Let the horn be sounded in Zion, and a war cry in my holy mountain. Let all the people of the land be troubled." It says, "For the day of the Lord is coming." It says, "For a day of dark and deep shade is near, a day of cloud and black night." Because you can have night, but then you have the really dark night, black night. It says, "It's like a black cloud, a great and strong people is covering the mountains." It says, "There has never been any like them and will not be after them again." It says, "From generation to generation." Now it says people there, and even in the KJV it will say people. Just to show you though, a great and mighty people.
Strong's H 5971. Am. Second entry.
And when you go down here to Strong's definitions, you got from H6004, a people as a congregated unit, specifically a tribe, as those of Israel, hence collectively, troops or attendants, figuratively a flock, folk, men, nation, or people. So it was basically talking about a collective unit, a congregated collective unit. And I'll go back. This is for the day of dark and deep shade, a day of cloud and black light, like a black cloud, a great strong people is covering the mountains. So this congregation, this collective, is congregating and creating a deep shade. It says there has never been any like them, and will not be after them again from generation to generation. It says before them fire sends destruction, and after them the flame is burning. So these chariots of Israel, so-called UFOs, they will shoot laser fire, concentrated beams of laser. So it says they send fire before them, fire sends destruction. So that's when they send out the beam. It says, and after them, flame is burning. So when they've gone, whatever they hit is left just left there to burn. It says the land is like the Garden of Eden before them, and after them as an unpeopled waste. Truly nothing has been kept safe from them. So you got America, for example, with all its splendor, it's got its riches. I mean, it's not, America's not what it used to be. But even like, for example, it was once known as Ophir. I think it was for its gold, for the fact that you could get the gold out of America. So you got, and it's obviously it's like they called it the New World when they went over there, and it's obviously it's a rich place. But it says here the land is like the Garden of Eden before them, and after them an unpeopled waste. Truly nothing has been kept safe from them. As America, Babylon the Great, according to the rest of the scriptures in various places, is going to be turned into a desert. It says their form is like the form of horses. They are running like war horses. Like the sound of war carriages, they go jumping on the tops of the mountains. It says like the noise of a flame of fire burning up the great stems, like a strong people lined up for a fight. It says, at their coming, the people are bent with pain. All faces become red together. Because so what this world, when the people of this world see this moment, remember, every eye shall see. So when Yahushua returns, he's going to return with an army of so-called UFOs, which are chariots of Israel. But these are coming in, as it says here, the form is like the form of horses. They are running like war horses. So they're coming in that manner to bring war. It says they're running like strong men. They go over the wall like men of war. Every man goes straight on his way. Their lines are not broken. So, when they decide to go in a direction, And then what happens before them, they shoot the fire, and after them, it's left burning. And the unpeopled waste. Before them is the Garden of Eden, and after them is unpeopled waste. And so these are the what people will call a so-called UFO. And that's why it says here, and at their coming, people are bent with pain, all faces become red together. In verse 7, it says, every man goes straight on his way, their lines are not broken. No one is pushing against another. Everyone goes straight on his way, bursting through the sword points. Their order is not broken, because these chariots, they come in order, like, they'll fly like the flock of birds. And you got to think how impressive Yahushua is going to roll up with an army of angelic vehicles ready for war, in formation. And it says when they go straight, their lines are not broken, because there's nothing that's going to happen to them to make them flinch, to make them have to move, to make them have to dodge, to make them have to duck. You watch a movie and you got like a guy who's in a jet and he's having a dog fight with another jet. They're ducking and diving, they're moving around, they're doing all this. You ain't gonna have to do it. They won't have to do any of that. They will appear and they will have a mission. They will have an agenda, and the agenda will go into this direction and destroy what's in its path, and they will do it. It says they make a rush on the town, running on the wall. They go up into the houses and in through the windows like a thief. It says the earth is troubled before them, and the heavens are shaken. So the sun and the moon have become dark, and the stars keep back their shining. It says, and their Lord is thundering before his forces. And so the Lord is thundering before his forces. He's leading that army. It says, for very great is his army. For he is strong who gives effect to his word. For the day of the Lord is great and greatly to be feared, and who has strength against it. So this is what we keep telling you. We read the scriptures, we read them in the name of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. We tell you that the name of the one they call God, the Most High, and the God of the Bible, if you like, his name is Yahweh. His son's name, the one they ignorantly call Jesus, his name is Yahushai. So that is the true names, that is the true power of the scriptures, that is the true power of the universe. So we come in those names, we tell you of his scriptures, we tell you of his future events in prophecy in that name, and the things we tell you come to pass. We told you Donald Trump's going to come, he's going to start to turn the world upside down, he's doing it. We told you that the MOTB is coming, this change of rulership. The MOTB is, it's not just a device to buy and sell. It's a change in worldwide system, which is ultimately is a new kingdom. It's a new world. You think each kingdom roughly lasts for 250 years, and this current one is about to end, America, next year, and they actually the banking elites want to start off a new kingdom. And so you think we go, remember the time when you had the Romans, remember the time when you had the Greeks. Well, when the MOTB has been established and it's 500 years down the road, they'll go, remember the time of the people with cash and coins and credit cards. That's what they'll say. Remember that time, because we're those people. But they're about to take you into a new thing, a new kingdom. Obviously, the Most High is going to interrupt that. So it says, the Lord is thundering before his forces, for very great is his army. And it says, for he is strong, who gives effect to his word. And so everything we've told you is coming to pass. But we tell you that there's also judgment, destruction, and the visitation of Yahushai. So he says, for he is strong, who gives effect to his word. So if you don't believe now, I don't know what to tell you. We're giving you this warning. They're implementing it right before you. Very soon comes this visitation. It's time to get right with the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, in the name of Yahushai. It says, for the day of the Lord is great and greatly to be feared, and who has strength against it? Who, when you go to the KJV, it says, who can abide in the day of the Lord? But even now, says the Lord, come back to me with all your heart, keeping from food and weeping and sorrow, and with sorrow. It says, let your hearts be broken and not your clothing, and come back to your Lord, to the Lord your power, for he is full of grace and pity. It says, slow to be angry and great in mercy, ready to be turned from his purpose of punishment. It says, may it not be that he will gain. Again, let his purpose be changed, and let a blessing come after him, even a meal offering and a drink offering to the Lord your power. It says, let a horn be sounded in Zion, let a time be fixed for going without food, and a holy meeting, and obviously for fasting. It says, get the people together, make the mass of the people holy. It says, send for old men, get together the children and babies and breasts, the babies at breast, let the newly married man come out of his room, and the bride for her tent. It says, let the priests and the servants of the Lord be weeping between the covered way and the altar. It says, let them say, have mercy on your people, O Lord, do not give up your heritage to shame, so that the nations become their rulers. Why let them say among the peoples, where is their power? So again, you've got this time here with this economic uncertainty, and you've got these nations like China. They think they're going to jump in and take over. It's going to, obviously, World War III is going to break out at some point, so that's going to be even more in the back of the minds of these various nations around the world to think, well, this American rulership is over. Now it's time for us to rule. You've got Russia thinking the same, and China. So, prophecy, the very last few prophecies, the judgments that come, it's just one huge melting pot of problems, and that's what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua has created. But like I say, it's going to get interrupted. As it says here, it says, why let them say among the peoples, where is their power? And Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is about to let them know about this power. We've been out here, we've warned you, we told you what's going down, what's about to happen, and it's happening. Like I keep saying, if you can't believe now, I don't know what to tell you, because these things are happening right. They're implementing them right before your eyes. Even the false prophets, IUIC are having to come round. So what does that tell you? So if we've warned you all this time, and now you're seeing the action taking place, that shows you how real this power is. The Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, he's there, he's listening, he's live, and he's a living power. And he's about to bring a visitation. So I hope that was edifying. I'm going to leave it right there. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.